with a live look at St. Peter's Basilica. Thousands now paying respects to Pope Francis. For more on this funeral events and what's taking place there right now, let's bring in Archbishop Salvatore Cordileone from the Archdiocese of San Francisco. Archbishop, we appreciate you joining us this morning. Pope Francis is lying in state for 3 full days. We are seeing massive crowds of people pouring in from all over the world to pay their respects. We are hearing from those in line what this Pope meant to the faithful. Let's take a listen.
Pope Francis was an ordinary, beautiful man who lived his life as a follower of Jesus in his most sincere way, in the most beautiful way. And he taught us all how to be Christians and to be human. And that's what we are so happy about. So we'll follow him. And we want Pope Francis II now.
Archbishop, we're hearing a lot of that this past week. Pope Francis was very much the people's pope. Is this reflective with the outpouring he's receiving, with many visitors saying they'll wait as long as it takes to view him?
Catholics in general have a great love for the Pope, right? There's always some sense of affection for the Holy Father. We call him the Holy Father because that's what the Pope is. Papa means father. So the Pope is a father figure for the whole Catholic world. Francis, in particular, had the gentleman who was just being interviewed spoke about this being very human. Francis put a lot of emphasis on the human encounter. He saw that encountering each other as fellow human beings is what opens the door to the encounter with Jesus Christ. I think that is what really came through and how many people felt a sense of connection to him.
He had specific details regarding his funeral. What will be his wishes? What part of that? And then what part will be normal processes and maybe things that have been done in the past with other funerals?
As you just mentioned, he's lying in state. That's always been the practice for the deceased pontiff. So as is happening now, people can view the body and pay last respects. The funeral ceremony is much simplified under his reordering of the funeral rites. The casket is much simpler. And what is perhaps most significant is that his desire to be entombed at the Basilica of St. Mary Major, the first church in the western part of the world to be dedicated to Mary, the Mother of God. He had a great devotion to her, to that basilica in particular. As we know, every time he had a journey outside of Rome, he prayed before leaving and then upon returning. So he asked to be buried there in that place.
Archbishop, as we reflect on his life and his assignment as Pope from God, what do you believe are the needs of the church moving forward? What is the vision?
The world certainly has changed quite a bit since he first became Pope. So we need to, I believe, this message of the human encounter, encountering the other, which is, I see it as a sense of continuity with his predecessors. I mean, John Paul he was famous for his international apostolic journeys. It really began with Pope Paul VI. Well, Paul VI had 12 apostolic visits outside of Italy, so he really opened that door. John Paul II expanded it greatly, and he met with all kinds of different people. Pope Benedict often spoke about the encounter as well, the emphasizing encounter with Jesus Christ. So Francis has continued that. I think it's important that the church focus on the human encounter as a means for building up mutual understanding and reconciliation. I think we need to do that in a sense that preserves clarity of doctrine. Doctrine is very important. It has to inform what we do, but we don't necessarily lead with that when it comes to meeting another. We need to encounter them on the human level. So I think the church needs clarity with the moral doctrine and what the church teaches, but with the emphasis on the human encounter.
Yeah, and Pope Francis, we could all agree, had that human connection as the hands and feet of Jesus. Archbishop Salvatore Cordileone, we appreciate your insight. Thank you for joining us and taking the time.